We're joined by a consumer rights advocate, Chief Adiolu Ogunbanjo. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so someone actually sent in a tweet. Let me just read that, then you weigh in on all of this conversation. Jendole Humbo says, should we then unbundle the entire country because it's not working well? That's his question. We're saying unbundle the mega ministry. You have been, as long as I can remember, advocating for consumer rights on basically on all platforms. So now that you heard that suggestion from the senator that we need to separate the power ministry from the others, because the problem of industrialization and basically moving this country forward is hugely tied to power. So more attention can be given to it. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Power drives any economy anywhere in the world. And let me tell you, sir, yes, Barrister Babatunde Raji Fashola is a very fine, hard-working gentleman. But power, they should just give him power to face. With power, the economy will be driven pretty well. Everybody, I mean, if there is enough power, if we generate, for instance, 7.5 megawatts, which was, 7,500 megawatts, that was originally agreed, we will get going.
So in your opinion, take Babatunde Fashola, place him in power and leave him there.
Don't give him housing or whatever. He will still work well with power.
In other words, you agree to the unbundling?
Precisely. That is the best way to go.
But Mr. Duto, before you came, was saying that it's not necessarily about that unbundling, because even in that situation where he is, he's working hard, but there are people there that are somewhat undermining him.
He will now face those people that are undermining the power ministry, and will face them squarely, and he will have much more time rather than housing today, works tomorrow. Let him face power. We still believe in Fashola, but let them just give him power. Power drives any economy in the world.
So, Duto, you don't seem to agree.
Well, that's another angle. What they are saying, perhaps Ogunbanjo did not follow our distinguished senators. What they are saying is that they should take power away from Fashola. What we are saying is that don't take power away from Fashola. Everybody should understand what's going on in Mambila, Plateau, and all of those projects. And that even within the system, we should begin to look at godfathers and godsons, whoever they are. Those are the ones that you should target, not Fashola as a person. Because you know, whereby somebody so powerful in the Ministry of Power make his own younger sister the consultant to embed. We are running a sabi at the sabi kind of system. So for us, we still believe that Fashola can handle what he's doing. What we say is that if you tell somebody to do something, give them all these required resources. This issue of Naira and Kobo that we're talking about, whether you're going to think about regulatory assets or something that you can do to bridge the shortfall and make the sector whole. I'm saying let us look at the institution and make it good. It is not about the person. If you can pinpoint something about the person that's not good enough, that can be easy to get the person away from there. In the absence of that, I think we should even focus on the civil servants in all our institutions. I'm being honest with you. Because sometimes, when you talk about this ministry, no minister can function without permanent secretary. There was a time we were running adverts on MDA debt. MDA debt are debts incurred by ministries, departments, and agencies. How come that in this country we are chasing people who are owing not 3,000 naira, 5,000 naira, and somebody say we should not talk about government who have failed to pay their bills? Cantonment, soldiers, police, prison. So we then started in Nane to run advert to tell Nigeria they have not paid MDA debt. Guess what? We went for a meeting with the minister, all of us, take over that meeting. We were thrown out of that meeting by the minister on the advice of his permanent secretary, who didn't like the face of ANE because they don't want us to talk about that debt. The debt has not been approved though, but maybe you think about what happened to the approval.
The government has approved that the money.
Oh, they approved part of it.
26.
Verified, they call it part of the
million.
Part of the verified. 26 billion has been approved, but the money is not coming to the discos. We are not complaining, no, but one Nigerian to know, discos don't have money, nobody's paying us. The money is from government to government.
26
they are paying the
billion.
money to embed, because we are owing embed.
Okay, okay. Federal government has agreed.
So that we are not complaining.
Let me shed some light on that. The discourse calculated that over the period in question, that the government was owing about 100 billion naira. So they started a verification exercise. The 26 billion we're talking about is that portion of it that concerns the federal government.
Yes.
Other governments are owing as well. And what the Ministry of Power has said is that we verified. I think there's in the total debt change was we said was about 60-something billion. They said no, we verified 26 billion, but we're not going to give you this money. We're going to use it to offset part of the debt you owe for not remitting enough money from your collections to the value chain to embed. Now, remember why we explained to you that we could not get
to remit when you are not being paid.
No, first of all, when you're not being paid, and first of all, you are selling the product at less than the cost.
Yes.
That is why that shortfall exists. Now we have been held to, for that shortfall, it's on the books of the discos, which is why we are unbankable today. And then they are charging interest on it. The interest element alone is close to 98 billion.
Yes.
On the 500 billion. So at times you just wonder why there is this, somebody's not looking at this value chain holistically. You want an investor-friendly climate, and you wield the big... Look, my concern here is let the regulator be strengthened. You know, let the ministry just limit itself to policy, and let the regulator take over. It becomes immaterial whether you have 10 ministers supervising what is. First, I didn't ask for 3 ministries. But the key performer here should be the regulator, because the regulator has a professional view of the entire market. And they are the ones who can balance all the contending forces. But what we're having here is that there are distortions caused by political, for example, if you ask me, the major reason why tariffs are not being addressed is political. No government wants to take the risk of raising tariffs so close to an election. I'm not blaming them for it, but that's the fact. Now, when you begin to have political considerations to determine economic decisions, whose interest are you protecting? The investor, the money to take us out of the power quagmire is not in Nigeria. The money, it's too big. It's going to come from investors. But investors will only come when they see that there are no distortions. Nobody is trying to manage poverty. You just let the system go. They will bring in their money. They will take out this first set of investors. But when you tell a man to come into a business that costs 60 naira but sell for 30, it will only angel investors will come.
I'm wondering how come.
So these are the issues in the power sector. So we better address it. There is a gap that needs to be addressed, and it's affecting the entire value chain.
But the consumers are also arguing that you saw this. Maybe you speak to this.
Yes.
They saw all of this that they went into buying.
No, please,
These were the conditions you met.
No. I want to correct it. And that's what see, at the point we were investing, they sent out ROFPs. We answered. There was data room. We went to check the data based upon which we put in our bids. Then we agreed on certain conditions of the sale. You will allow a cost-reflective tariff. You will pay your debts. You will allow a subsidy for a particular period. You must give us power at a certain level. None of these have been met on the government side. Now, on the investor side, they gave us KPIs. On the DISCO side, you must reduce your aggregate, technical, commercial, and collection losses by so much, DISCO by DISCO. We were supposed to have had what they call a shadow management period, a 6-month period before we took over the assets, to understudy and assess the assets we were paying for. We couldn't do it because Labour said, no, if you don't pay us, nobody should come close. So our first involvement with these assets was when we took over.
But sir,
we played our role. You can't blame people who answer the call to investment. You can't demonize them today.
But sir,
I mean, it's big money we're talking about. Nearly $3.9 billion.